Hello, good afternoon. It's so nice to be back on the stage, and especially in such great company, Boris. Thank you so much for joining me. We are very happy investors in UiPath. We led their Series A about a year and a half ago, and their Series B actually about half a year ago. And it's been quite a journey in the past year and a half. The company went from 100 people to about 800 people today, and 16 offices across the globe. So I really look forward to sharing a little bit of the story through Boris with you. So Boris, maybe we can just tell the audience what UiPath actually does, because a lot of people here may have not come across the company yet.
Sure. I mean, it's software, robotic software automation. So we basically simulate the eyes and the hands of a human working on a PC, desktop, laptop, and we can kind of run that in a very high-scale orchestrated way. We combine this also with non-rule-based kind of machine learning capabilities. So if we need something like a decision or so forth, we can have that integrated very easily in our kind of rule-based flow. The power of our tool is that you can actually download it and for free, and we have a whole training for free. But the power is actually that you can record yourself, whether you're technical or not, and create and visualize your entire own workflow of what you've been doing, and then modify it and apply it, and it runs. And so it's kind of, this is kind of the key thing that we are so excited about, is it's kind of a democratizing the whole myth around, in order to automate or get something digitized, you have to have this highly technical skill and automation or technical skill. And in our case, you don't really need it. You've got to have a bit of an understanding, of course, of creating an algorithm or so forth. But this is actually kind of one of the magic ingredients of our software, why it has become so successful.
Wonderful. I'd love to talk to you a little bit about the growth path of UiPath, no pun intended. And the reason is because it's actually exceptional and quite rare. I've been investing in tech companies in Europe for about a decade, and it's very rare to see such a trajectory and such rapid expansion. So tell us a little bit about your philosophy around growth.
Right. I think when we discovered it was really kind of kicking off, which was kind of mid-2016. That's actually when we had our first round A, 30 million, right? That's where we realized, this whole software is obviously very adaptive, and there's a huge demand, and people were deploying it. And one of the reasons was obviously the kind of a echo effect. One of the reasons was obviously the ease of use. When you think of where we come from, so that was a small apartment in 2005, right, where kind of a bunch of very, very clever Romanian guys came up with the idea of, we should do something with screen scraping in a more intelligent way. And first they just wanted to do something technical, just an SDK, which is kind of a development kit. And then more and more companies got interested. In 2015 then, actually 2013, the first BPO service provider realized that this is something we could use for our, bringing the cost to serve down for our whole operation. And when that started, and then Capgemini and other companies kind of discovered this, it really kind of started. I actually was a customer before. I was in charge for automation robotics for Atos, and we evaluated different products, and that was in 2015 when I came across UiPath as a product. And I immediately discovered that that's so agnostic and flexible to adapt, and especially also for not just for the kind of business process, but also for application management or IT processes. So that I decided that's the right path to go. And so this is how I got to know our CEO, Daniel, right, to kind of enter in this area. And 2015 was when everybody was talking about robots and rule-based. Now more people talk about machine learning, deep learning, and all this. But the point is that it needs to be embedded, because you can only apply machine learning to something that has legs or hands and eyes. So from that growth path, You see myself being kind of customer and then joining UiPath, seeing and I'm being a real believer of this whole automation wave. It really made a difference. And so we are gaining more and more people every day, significantly joining us and contributing. And the key is always for us to find better people than we are already.
But let's not scare customers and tell them that we'll recruit more people from them.
No, of course not. That was rather kind of unusual in that situation. Yeah. It was a bit of, because you have to see, when I joined UiPath, we were 120 people. Now we're close to 900 people. And by end of August, we'll be 1,000 people.
I think if we take a step back, what's special about this opportunity is that, as you mentioned, the market certainly reached an inflection point at some point, I think around 2016, early 2017. But also, just for some takeaways for the audience, a lot of them are entrepreneurs. Also, the management team really grabbed that opportunity and ran with it as fast as possible, right? So what would you recommend in terms of international expansion? Would you recommend to perfect the product first and win your home market and make sure it works? Or, hey, go try the US, try Japan. You guys went to Japan very early. There are not that many European software companies that do that.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think first you need to have a product that is easy to use. And secondly, it needs to be scalable. When you have that, then you need to look into your markets for expansion. So we saw that US had a big demand.
Right.
And also some cultural aspect, and this is where Japan comes into play. So Japan, they are very open to embrace automation.
Right.
They even have invented a word for being overworked, koroshi. And for them, it's like a medication to automate, to make the work-life balance better. And that's one of our key things from our customer, Dentsu, who says, this is where we apply it. So they actually train all their employees, most of their employees, to use and design those process automations so that they can actually go home earlier, that they can don't have to work on the weekend. That's, but this is where the Japanese market certainly, from a cultural perspective, also came in. And if you think of the history of robotics, it was also Japan where
That's
Kawasaki kind of took off, right?
Right.
Because the people are so committed to it. So this is how Japan kind of grew to it. But we also had the right connect in the countries. So that's always key. You need to find the right people who carry the same vision, the same enthusiasm and passion for driving your product in these countries.
So if I had to summarize, make sure that your product is easy to use and scalable.
Yeah.
Figure out which geographies make sense for you, in this case, Japan made sense amongst others because it's open to automation, and find the right people on the ground to run your business locally.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That makes sense. And how about, I'm going to go a little bit more off script.
That's good.
How about scaling culture? We touched upon this a little bit in the other room. You start with one office in Bucharest and with a very strong culture. And now you have hired hundreds of people across 16 offices. And from my perspective, at least, whenever I visit one office in Japan or the one in New York, I get the same feel, and I get the same feeling that people are really mission-driven in the company. So how do you do that? Is it just about hiring the right people, or?
Well, that's highly simplified, yes, but how do you do it?
Yeah.
So I think Daniel himself was going into these countries and really handpicked the people, and he so besides of knowing that they have all the right qualities and so forth, handpicking them and knowing, okay, what are the background of experiences, and then also, does it comply to our culture? And our culture is three things. It's humbleness towards our customers, so having a very strong customer focus. It's being immersed. So if you're immersed, you will have to be immersed in our culture and in the company culture with the people. The people need to see that they want to work with you. The whole philosophy is you don't have any kind of strong hierarchy. This is where we're still like a startup, although we're growing so
Right.
fast. But the immersion is a very, very important point. And the last thing is fast, which also means that you are allowed to make mistakes. We have no problem with anyone doing mistakes if that was all done in the right intention. And that's a kind of a key philosophy for us. Excuse me. So the same he did when he picked the representatives of the various countries, that they understand that concept and take that forward. So once you implanted the right seed and custodian of the culture, your vision, and very easily unfolded successfully.
That makes sense. And how about some of the challenges that come with such high growth? And don't get me wrong, all of these are good problems to have, but there's still problems that have to be addressed and solved. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest challenges, because we're growing so fast, the challenge is around making sure that people still feel comfortable. So the one big rule that Daniel and the executive team and us kind of very focused on right now, make sure that everybody's emotionally comfortable. Because we're getting new people, new ideas, and so, you could easily make everybody uncomfortable. Even on exec level, we're never 100% comfortable. We always have to kind of be ready to leave our comfort zone. And that's actually a good philosophy also in connection with humbleness. So we combine this. So making people emotionally comfortable ensures that they are working perfectly.
It's so interesting that you talk about this, because I don't think that there are so many executives that speak publicly about this as a key topic when it comes to scaling the business. So if I could dig a little bit deeper here, is it what about having the right processes, the right HR team, or how do you guarantee just an open culture? Or
Yeah, of course you have to have the right kind of focused HR team that can put that into motion. But the point is that the HR team is not kind of sitting there and trying to redefine the process in all detail. It's more about a direction, where we want to go, and an alignment, and a lot of communication that ensures that. And also openness to kind of antennas of, whenever we sense that something is going out of sync, or there's kind of unhappiness or whatever, to be immediately addressing that before it kind of has a chance to make its own way of a rumor or whatever.
Oh, that's very nicely said, and I'm sure a good takeaway for everyone here. And again, since we do have a lot of entrepreneurs in the audience, and I'm sure they're looking for tips or things they can learn from you, what is the secret sauce? Are there any tips you can share, or anything you can share about your secret sauce that people may relate to or learn from?
Yeah, I think the secret sauce that we had as a product company is your product needs to be easy to use. Just compare our product to the world out there with AI products, where there's a lot of data analytics going on, preparation, and so forth. It's very complicated to then understand how you need to tag the data. There's lots of consulting going on actually in order to get there. Whereas as a software product with us, you can download it and immediately you can put it into play. You could even, without any training, do something and bring to a certain result. So it needs to be very easy to use and easy and understandable also to kind of non-technical people, but to your target audience. Then it needs to be able to scale. If you can't scale the product or you're not sure or whatever, this is what you need to focus on. Like I said, if you have those two factors, then it's great. Then you need to see that you're starting to become also a little bit more bolder. So you can easily just be comfortable and say, okay, this is where I am now, we're making this kind of revenue, it's all safe and so forth. But you should rather be looking at, okay, whom do I need? Oh, thank you, that's very helpful. Thanks. So you'd rather be helpful to think about whom do I need now to get to the next level? So you should always think of the next level of growth. And Daniel is really a thinker. So he kind of absorbs any conversation he has with people, he learns. So he has a complete growth mindset. It's really, and this is the magic actually. If you have the complete growth mindset, you're always thinking of whom do I need to grow to the next level? Who can help me? Where do I need to go? And then you validate those ideas with people who know better, who know a particular market and so forth. And by listening very carefully and applying that, but then you have to have the boldness to put it into motion. And that's where very often, do I do this or not? And that's actually where Daniel is pretty clear. So he does, make both moves. He kind of put in a completely next level of exec teams and so forth, and put new structure here and there. And we're constantly changing, and also my role is constantly changing.
Sure.
And so you got to be really open and allow this, right? So it's really be bold and be as adaptive as possible, learn as much as possible, think always who can help, and overcome your own insecurities for sure.
And I can confirm that being humble is such a big part of the culture, despite of having seen so much recent success. And I really think that has to do with what you said before, the ability to keep your eye on the ball and always think about the next goal and how you can better yourself and how you can improve yourself. And I think that's such a key part of how you guys do business, and it's really at the core of your culture, and certainly something I admire very much. So going back to something you said regarding just building easy-to-use product, scalable product, if at the end of the day software companies build product and they sell it, right? They sell it and market it. In terms of UiPath's philosophy, what was it? Was it, again, building the best product we can and then figuring out how we can sell it to our customers? Or was it, okay, we're going to build something, we're going to put it out there, sell it as much as we can, and then fix things along the way?
It's very often like, so when you're convinced of something and you're driving it in the right direction, success will come automatically. So the funny thing is that this obviously was a product that really kind of was responding to the whole enterprise market. And so for us, we were just seeing how it grew, and particularly with our philosophy of democratizing.
Right.
Yeah, taking all this kind of, anything that is kind of specializes too much is bad. No, bring it to everyone. Make the trainings free, make the software free to that degree that everybody could just apply it. And that really opened the gate, and that's our philosophy. And then when we saw that this was giving immense result back. Right?
So we have very little time left. Are there any takeaways you'd like to share with the audience? If you were to have one entrepreneur in front of you, if there are two things that you'd want to leave them with, what would those be?
Well, probably I have to repeat the one of, of course you have to have an easy-to-use product and it's scalable, no doubt. But
you love product, we know.
I'm a product guy, so.
And it is a very product-driven company. So.
But the other thing is, be very, very clear how you select people. So you choose your focus right, pick the right people you want to work with, you also want to be with privately, kind of, because don't make that distinction, because it's, in the end, it's a very important factor. Think of the fact that it's going to be a journey, so you need people that have certain skills. So think about like you're putting together a team, like a soccer team or any other team, right?
Coherent team, right?
Yeah, or better, rugby team, because they have really different skills. Yeah. So if you think in that motion, and always be open to ask, get advice, get information. Whenever you're not sure, get it from somewhere and learn. Just listen to what people are saying and absorbing it. And have the guts to give up ideas if they are really wrong. Yeah? That's also important.
So great product, choose your people carefully,
yes.
Make sure they're comfortable, and be humble, and focus, I guess.
Exactly, focus is very important, so that now you're going after sales, or now you're going after kind of revising something on the product or whatsoever. And pay attention to the customer. That's always another very important point, because they define how your product should be. Don't invent it. Ask them. Involve them.
Customer success should be at the core of everything you do.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for sharing this, and thank you so much for being here with us tonight.
Thank you. You're welcome.